oh yeah, these people have been entrenched for 20, 30 years. They're judges of great distinction and have served with honor for their country. Fuck you. You were just put in because you're an activist by a do-nothing president. You should be ignored, in addition to being deported.
Yeah, I remember, and this is maybe a little bit of a dated conversation, but the big Democrat talking point a few years ago was of packing the courts. And obviously they were referring to the Supreme Court, but obviously they kind of got their wish through other means by packing, lower level courts by putting in all these third worlders that obviously favor mass migration, so that way it would make it difficult for whenever somebody that might want to hurt somebody's feelings and deport some people to make America more for Americans, and to essentially fight against the Trump administration whenever they want to do some kind of deportations.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more we could say on this one. Just, this is a huge travesty, should not be allowed. It's ridiculous to think that you could be a judge instituting the laws of the United States when you weren't even born here. You didn't grow up in the culture, nothing of the nation's history and of its people. And yeah, all these people need to be removed, every last one of them.
If they do not dismantle this system and at least replace these and just get them out of there, I mean, we're cooked. That's it.
Well, how can you have a stake in a country that you haven't really grown up in? Like, if I think about my dad, where he's a third generation automotive business owner, right? I go into my dad's shop, and on his shelves over in the left corner, there are Matovic's Golf Station stickers and coffee mugs and can openers from the 60s and the 70s. And one of the first times, the first summer I worked for my dad when I was 17 years old, he hands me a wrench and says, "Hey, your great grandfather gave this to your grandfather, and now I have it. And I use this for every single tune up on every single engine that I do." Shouldn't people like that be people who are dictating how this country is ran and who should be here, instead of people who just got here and had an anchor baby and decided that, okay, well, now we're going to dictate how this country should be? Like, I think it should be people that have a stake in how this country is going to go, because now, I'm bringing in another generation of Matovics through my wife and I, thank God. And hopefully they have kids after that. Like, we have a stake in how this country goes. Whereas like these other judges, they can always go back to where they came from. I'm not going to go back to Poland where, my great grandfather is from. This is my home. I don't want to leave Pennsylvania, right?
100%.
Yeah, I was talking with my wife today. I'm like, my great grandfather came here from Poland in 1910. I can't imagine that he would have been, if someone would have been like, "Hey, do you want to be a judge?" He'd been like, "No." It's like, what's wrong with you? What is the person who would do this, who would accept this? The fact that they would accept this, it tells you everything you need to know about this person.
That's an excellent point, Pete. I make this point a lot when there's that meme that goes around all the time. It's like, do you have the courage to hate the poor, right? But in the same line of thinking is like, okay, the media lie that we are pushed all the time by these people who are seeking refuge in the United States. They just want a better life. They crossed, they try to make this like a Mayflower manifest destiny kind of thing of, the same Gordita who's walking up from Panama all the way through Central America to the United States southern border. And then her child has to crawl on barbed wire fences. It's just like your ancestors. It's just like people on the Mayflower. They're going through adversity to get here. It's like, no, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're an awful human being for subjecting a child to that. And
exactly.
You are such a dick that you got expelled from your home, and your only hope is to come over here where people are going to give you money so they can buy votes and influence, and because they hate white people and heritage Americans. You're not a good person. It's the same kind of deal with like people who try to give benefit of the doubt to homeless people. It's like, dude, like if I like fucking lost my job tomorrow, if I got hit by a bus, if I got like paralyzed from the neck down, God forbid, or if like I fell on hard times, maybe like struggle with addiction or something like that or something, I have family members, I have friends, I have people who love and care for me and are going to make sure that I don't end up homeless on the street. And many of these people, they're not in this position because like they fell on hard times, right? They're there because they're fucking assholes. They're degenerates. They're horrible human beings who have destroyed relationships with all of their friends and family, and that's why they're in the position that they are. Their kids don't talk to them. Their parents are gone. Their siblings hate them because they're awful human beings to be around and they take advantage of them. Like, these aren't people that you should be pitying. These are people that need to be ruled over and, or in the case of the migrants coming over the border, expelled immediately, preferably via trebuchet. Just shoot them over the southern border. Well,
Yeah, and not everybody, like you said, not everybody really ends up there due to just like unfortunate circumstances. Some people just constantly step on their own dick time and time and time again, and eventually catches up with them. And as soon as it does, they want to act like it's the whole world's fault. When it's like, no, really, this is all your fault. There were so many different things that you could have done to not end you up in this exact position. Like I always think back to 2020 when my bass player looked at me and said, "Hey man, if you ever need anything, I'm right here for you." He runs an automotive shop. My neighbor who lives a couple houses down from me said, "Oh, hey man, if I would have known you got laid off, I would have gave you a job." Like, if you're resourceful, you'll figure it out. If you're not, you won't. And it's not my job to take care for people that I don't know, and I shouldn't have to take care of people that I don't know.
foreigners least of all.